Hello, hello, dear hearts. Marilyn here with a quick little lesson for you, for your children, and also a final discussion about the animal tracks I talked to you about, showed you pictures of in the previous 2 videos, because my daughter notified me that I had told you the wrong thing when I was showing you this. These are actually little mole, meadow voles tracks, and that animal is only about that big, maybe that big. And this is the possum tracks. You can see the back feet right here, and I'm not sure which is which. It might be the front, and then that's the back. And so you can see the difference in size. And she said they had kept it, but I couldn't find it. And I found it on the top shelf of the nature collection display. And when I went to get one, this was the one that was visible to me, and I just grabbed it thinking that was the possum tracks. Anyway, I have something really cute to show you. And this was when they started making tracks, and we lived at the farm where there was a lot of wildlife, and they had a friend who loved doing that with them. And so he was having a birthday, and they wanted to teach him how to collect his own. And so Catherine made a little booklet, and they took pictures of the stages, or they had me take pictures of the stages. And this is a duplicate book of what they made for his birthday present. And so I wanted to show it to you because they wrote a little instruction sheet for how to collect an animal track. The little thing fell off of here. Anyway, so it says Field Guide to Collecting Animal Tracks, or to Casting Animal Tracks. This was written and illustrated in April 1993 by Catherine. Examples portrayed in November of 1992 by Catherine and John Hauschel. So I'm going to just show you this it's a little accordion fold kind of, and I want you to see the progression, because you will see right away the troubleshooting that they had to do to catch these tracks, because they had caught the possum, and it was in a cage, and they gave it some food and water. And I'm going to try to get it close up so you can see that. There's the possum. Anyway, and then there's, I'm going to swipe the comments away so I can see what I'm doing here. Here, let me pull this back. Okay, so as soon as they spread the mud, and that's me in the shadow taking a picture of the progress, because they asked me to do that for them. So they let the possum go, and it immediately went to the side of the mud instead of going through it like they had hoped. And so then they had to trap it again. And so they came up with this idea. They trapped it, and they put another cage over on across the way a little bit, put the mud down, and then they put boards up on the sides of the mud, so when they released the possum, it would be forced to go across the mud into the other cage. And there they are doing that. And so you can see the troubleshooting that they did for that. And there they have it. And then they got the tracks, and this is the plaster cast that they set over the tracks. Then they had to wait for it to set up, and then they made a crate gift. They made some chicken tracks and peacock tracks for their friend, and they made a little bucket full of plaster and also the little metal ring, so their friend could actually make his own tracks. And then they wanted to keep the possum tracks. That's why they've got chicken and a peacock, because we had chickens and peacocks. And they wrapped it up. They made the card, and Catherine typed up how to make plaster cast of animal tracks and the steps. I guess there's 4 steps. Have fun tracking. Love, from Catherine and John Hauschel. And then Catherine drew some tracks and identified them, showing them what they were of different wildlife. And so that was the gift. And I wanted to talk to you just a little bit about the importance of letting your children troubleshoot. You know, they don't have to troubleshoot when they're in regular school. Their life is so controlled with academic activities and pre-programmed activities that someone else is guiding, that they don't really have to do very much real life learning processes. And so they don't develop wisdom, they don't develop the skills of troubleshooting, so that they learn how to do many, many things. And so I want to encourage you to really let your kids delve in and do many, many things. And so when you allow them to do many things, you know, your kids become so smart. They have so much common sense, and they can just learn how to do anything. You know, my family is highly skilled in so many areas. And all it is our lifestyle of learning. That's all it is. You know, we've never had a class in anything. We developed a business and ministry, and we just had to figure it out along the way. And many of you know that you have to do that with different things that you do. Sometimes you might need a course in something for some advanced work that you're wanting to do. However, if you've had a lifestyle of being able to do many, many things your whole life, you actually do just know how to learn. You know how to figure things out. You know how to receive that instruction from the Holy Spirit, ordering your steps, you know, giving you creative ideas for how to go about doing things. When my kids grew up, there was no internet, and so they weren't Googling YouTube. I mean, it didn't exist. And, you know, we had library books, but their dad had done some things, and he would just say, well, you just need some plaster and a form. And so then I would go to the store and get plaster and a form the next day, and they'd figure it out how to do this. You know, I didn't do it. I didn't tell them how. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do those things. So they had to figure them out, you see. I just think this is really cute, how the possum placed his feet. Look at that. Isn't that cute? That little thumb, that little foot. And then this one is really big, spread out toes. I like this little one. I'm pretty sure this is the front foot and that's the back. Yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to encourage you really briefly about letting your children troubleshoot and teaching them to tackle things they're not quite sure about if they want to do it. Okay, so I have another example. But this is current. This is a current example of my grandson, Sean. He wanted to make a beanie. And a beanie that had a kind of like a dinosaur head attached to it. And he had seen a picture of one that was crocheted. So this was an advanced project. He's only 11. And he wanted to learn how to crochet. And he was so insistent on it. And I'm the only one in the family that knows how to do that. So I had to encourage him. I found my old crochet hook, and Mommy got him some yarn, and I sat and tediously taught him how to do the chain stitch. He just wasn't old enough to manage it all. to coordinate the holding of the stitches and pulling. Now he did do like 3 rows, and then he would make a mistake and accidentally pull them out. And he redid it several times. So I didn't know how to do anything but just a little doily thing, you know, or a chain stitch back and forth and a double stitch. I knew how to do that, but I had never really made anything with crochet because I just wasn't crazy about it. He had to find out on his own, and he tried many times to do crochet. He really did try. Well, before I knew it, he came up with another idea that made so much more sense. And I had even suggested it, but at the time, he still wanted to try the crochet. But when I made this suggestion, eventually that suggestion worked its way up to his mind, and he remembered, and he decided to make the beanie out of felt. And I had given him a big roll of felt that I had, some gray felt I had used for a project a long time ago, and there was a whole bunch left over. And so he asked his mommy to make a pattern, and she put layers of saran wrap on his head. You know, she just figured that out. Layers of saran wrap to make a mold, you know, a form. And then took it off his head and cut it into 4 sections, and then used it as a pattern for his felt. And he was able to make, you know, cut the sections of felt. He came down yesterday so proud of himself because he had hand stitched those sections together. And he had a little, you know, folded back right here, and just this cute little beanie that fit him perfectly. And showed me how it was fitting. It was just really sweet, and I was so proud of him. I said, you know, sweetie, someday you're going to crochet because you want to so badly. And he had asked for my sewing kit because he remembered my little travel sewing kit that he had seen in my tiny drawers in my office. And I said, you can go get it. And so he went and got it, and he said he wanted to make a sewing kit just like that. Well, I had made my own sewing kit, and I said, you know, this is really easy. You would be able to do this with felt, and it would look just like this. All we have to do is make a pattern. And I says, you can go ahead and take that upstairs and figure out how to make a pattern out of this fabric. You're tracing it and make a pattern out of it, and Mommy will help you. And so that's what he decided to do, and I can't wait to see what he does. He actually said today that he would kind of like to have my help with it because he thought maybe there were too many pieces, but I would be able to help him figure that out. Well, I think Mommy could too. But Mommy was having a headache today, and so she couldn't actually help him. Anyway, so I'm just telling you, you know, he was determined to troubleshoot the crocheting, but he just wasn't developed enough in a small motor skills that way. But he could do the straight stitch with the needle and thread. I showed him how to use a needle threader and use a big needle so that he could go through the felt. I showed him he already knew how to do a straight stitch, and so he knew that he could do this. It was something he could actually do. And you make something that he could actually use. So I encouraged him that he's going to crochet one day. But he had to lay that aside temporarily and do a skill that was doable and attainable for his age. And I'm so glad he did. And he wasn't too discouraged. He found something he could do. He still wants to make the dinosaur head on the front of it. He wants it to look just like the picture he saw. It's not going to look just like the picture he saw, but he's determined to make a dinosaur head on the front of that. And so I think that he's going to do it because he wants to so badly. Anyway, and felt and sewing is something that he can do at his age. So anyway, just filling you in a little bit more about how you can train your children and how, especially in troubleshooting, letting them try things. Some things, like what Sean was tackling with the crochet, was a little bit too advanced for his age, but something like what Catherine and John were doing with the possum was something that they could figure out on their own. Now, in that picture, Catherine was 13 and John was 9 at that age. And by then, they had done so much troubleshooting with so many projects that they had no problem. They never gave up on anything because they tackled things they knew they could eventually figure out how to do. You know, they would get a project in mind and they would know that it's something that they could do. Sean has a tendency to bite off more than he can chew. He wants it all to look just like the model right from the beginning. He doesn't have a lot of patience for the process. Now, he was born that way. He was born 2 weeks early. Catherine laughingly says that when he came out 2 weeks early, he just couldn't wait. She says he's still like that. This is the character quality that they deal with him the most on. He just can't wait. He needs to learn how to stick to it and let there be a process of learning unfold. Sometimes kids have to give up on something they bite off too big. They have to. And you have to encourage them that they can choose a different way to make the same thing. You know, his mommy at that same age made, by hand, she stitched stuffed animals for her brothers. She stitched little dolls for their play, making the patterns herself. They weren't professional looking at all. They were according to what she could do at that age, you know. And she became a really good, skilled seamstress in her later teens. So, you know, without doing a whole lot of clothing, she ended up making costumes and all sorts of things for her and her brother and her friends, and they just had a lot of fun. But anyway, I'm just encouraging you to let your children troubleshoot. Let them figure out if something's too big. If they're young and they're impatient, you know, lead them as much as you can, that you know how to do something, and let them find out on their own that they can't actually do that yet, okay? And then encourage them about another way they could do it. It's like that for the felt, for Sean. It's something that he can do right now. And the troubleshooting, he will figure that out because it's something he can do. So, ladies, I just wanted to encourage you one more time, and then I won't be talking about animal tracks anymore. I'm going to go on to another subject from the keepsake frame that I have back here. Next time I come on with you in just a couple of days, okay? You have a great day, and love on those precious kiddos and encourage them in their learning process, okay? And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.